Okay. Um, this one thing I try to continuously do is try to like maintain reality. I'm I realize that, and I've said it many times. The reason why I think some of these perps that interacting with me in these V2K versions, why they sound childlike or why they're actually children like, is I think they want me to start thinking like them in regard of like logic. When you hear an adult man or woman who's trying to make you this retarded, and I'm sorry to use that word, but it's just I don't know what the words I can describe the level of ways of thinking they want me to think. For them to try to make me acceptive of this level of stupidity and to start logic, use these ways of logic, I think it makes more sense that they utilize these childlike individuals to try to make you subscribe to these things, right? When you hear a grown woman or grown man do that, it sounds more like they sound like crazy. It sounds like they're just crazy. But when you hear a childlike person try to make you think this way, you just like, oh my gosh, you just sound like a child. Meaning you make no sense. You're like a child living in a fantasy. But when you hear those grown men and women, and whatever tonality, some of them try to be super serious, like, oh, this are. And then this, with me as a target individual, I'm what you call a target individual. Let me give a quick introduction. I know I'm a target individual. I'm what you call a TI. And so what's happening with me is I'm being forced to. I have all kind of manipulation, right? Actually, earlier on, they tried to make me feel doubtful because some target individuals were saying that unless you have sleep deprivation of 2-3 days, you're not like this. Obviously I know that I'm a target individual because whatever I'm experiencing has been experienced by others and testified the same way. Like it's surreal. It's surreal when you hear the same testimonials from somebody that you have no idea saying the exact same stories in regard of what's happening to them, the same dialogues or the same type of confusion and disorientation utilized by this V2K type of torture, try to confuse you, try to disorient you. But people who are trying to confuse you into accepting this illogicalness, the pedophilia type of torture, which is something they've done to me and others, the manipulations, the threats, the degradations, all of that is just something else, something that others have experienced. And you hear these people literally going through the same scripts, which is like, this is what you guys do to others. I'm not going to subscribe to your manipulation. You do these things, and you do these things to not only just me, not only just men, but women, and you torture children. You see this picture. This is a picture I always bring up. This is a picture I took a year before I turned, before I was about to turn 14. I bring this picture because these people today, what's happening is, right? Actually, matter of fact, right now I'm being stimulated. In this, and you're gonna hear that at this point, I don't just bring up my testimonials. I also bring up the similar testimonials. When you see validations, you'll see validations. These people, what they do is they can make you experience disturbing, and that's what they do. They try to train your brain and they manipulate you to get some pedophilia type of tormenting, meaning that they can force you to get stimulations, and they aim those stimulations toward children. Now, this is not just something that happened to me, it is something they do to others. They make you experience thoughts, reactions that are manipulated in these disturbing pedophilia ways. I keep saying that, and I'm not only just saying that, I'm making sure that when I say that, you hear somebody say the exact same thing that I'm saying. It's almost scary to hear how exactly the same thing it is. Now, these people doing this thing to me are not some just random neighbors doing this. It's not some 14-year-old next door Xbox player, as you're gonna hear. They have these psyops where they try to present a reality that's so falsified, and they try to disorient you. Now, I see this for what it is, right? As I say, I see that they tell me how they're going to blind me, which is something else they've done to others. They do these things, and they will also want you to not see it for what it is. That this is everything but this large government doing these things. They are these programs, right? What we go through is obviously some governmental entity running this program. I don't think I'm going against my next door neighbor's perps. I know they just contracted to do what they do. I understand these tactics are tactics that are provided by some governmental entity for them to implement onto me because I'm a target individual and a subject in this developing of a technology. Their job is to try to remove reality and live in this distorted reality where they want me to subscribe to this. You hear these people who really they don't even want to be seen, right? When you see them who try to tell you, no, it's you, it's you, it's natural. We just made you think the way you would think if you're a child. We just kind of like played with your brain, and you see who's talking to you. You see the bottom feeders that they are. And when I say you realize that obviously these people here are here investigating anything. They look like what they do. They are trying to get you to be acceptive of manipulation that you even heard others say exactly that they're experiencing. Now, when I see them, when I look at them, I don't think, oh, it's me against them. This nobody. These people can drop dead today. It's not going to change a single thing in my life. They'll bring somebody as easily as they brought this trash to do whatever they do. And I recognize it when I see them. And I can understand that this is bigger than this bottom feeders telling me, repeating and creating the scripts to try to convince me that I'm going like, this is you. Listen, I was just listening to this podcast, right? The story about this man. This is quite interesting, but also kind of sad. But also, ended up doing well for himself. This man goes through his life story, right? And he goes through how when he was a child, actually started a very young child, he started doing drugs, right? As I'm saying that right now, these perps are trying to start disorienting me because they want to live in this distorted reality. And they're saying things to block out what I'm about to say because they want me to think in these childlike ways of retardations. That's their job. Because this man was talking about how he started drinking when he was like in second grade, which is insane, right? You understand how that is really crazy. But he said when he was like 12 in 7th grade, 12, 13, he was starting to do this, smoking cigarettes. But then when he was in 8th grade, he started doing cocaine. And you can understand, he was saying like, I was this kid and I was already hanging out with high school and older people doing these drugs. And he became addicted to like stronger drug, crack and stuff like that. And by 17, he was trying to stop this addiction. And then from then he stopped. So you hear the story, which is crazy, that this man started so young, as a kid, as a child, doing some very hard drugs. Now these people, they want you to start like being as retarded as these childlike individuals are addressing me. And you hear this grown man or grown woman who wants you to be on this retardation state. And they're like, because what's happening today? They're making me experience some disturbing pedophilia type of tormenting. Now, unfortunately for them, there's certain things in life that is humiliating to them. Because they want you to see them as these people who are investigative and protective of children and not what they really are. Trash that are contracted by governmental entities, which includes Department of Defense entities, that includes also DARPA and CIA. Those entities, unfortunately, unfair for them, have actually problem with pedophilia. You're going to hear something that addresses that problem, right? And it's not even just like one here or there. It's a pattern that is really a real issue, a scary issue that, of course, these people have to create a distorted reality. Their reality, like they like to call it. Now, like I said, when I see them, I see them for what they are. Contracted trash. Now, for me, I know what I am. I am a subject in this program that they use human subjects, which in this case, I'm one of those subjects, which they are manipulating using this technology that is extremely advanced, which obviously DARPA is involved in it. By the way, they caught this program manager at DARPA at some point that only child porn on his governmental device. Just to give you an idea of what's going on in that real world that they are trying to distort. As I'm saying that, they try to do something, but they're trying to get you to be subscriptive of this manipulation and somehow see them as, no, we're different, where it's our money, we are, this is our tortures, because they somehow want me to look at them as these men, women, mostly a lot of women actually, trying to present themselves as this like progressive, like in so many ways everything looks like a psyop. And so the humiliation of reality, which is what they try to distort, is that they not only torture men but a lot of women and children in these disturbing ways, psychological and physical ways. Now, I'm listening to this story about this man who went through a lot of things but started doing drugs very young in his life when he was a child. Now, with me, because they do this pedophilia type of torture, right? They want me to be like, no, what we're doing is we're just making you think the way you were thinking when you were a child. And the way you're reacting today, this reaction that you're feeling is natural, but is natural in a way that you would think when you were a child. Now, what I'm saying right now is something that they say, and to disorient me, they tell me how they're gonna cut my feet, how they're gonna do these tortures, which I don't doubt they could do it, and they will do it because of the humiliation of reality and trying to maintain the psyop, which is at this point is not gonna work. There's too much validations in regard of what they do. And as a human subject in this program, really, once they got everything they need out of me, they can truly do whatever they want to me, because I'm a human subject and the government is really running the show. So if they say, let's hire somebody to do this horrible things to me, of course they can do that, but it's not going to stop reality. They, like I said, they want to create their reality, which is distorted, because their reality, the real reality of what they're part of, is a program where they're working for entities filled with pedophiles. They do the pedophilia type of torture, and they're torturing children and women. So I guess they think that this theatrical torture can stop reality and create this distorted reality where they want to live in and try to block out reality. But like I said, reality has been kind of knocking on their door, and it's going to be hard for them to just escape reality. It's going to come one way or another. I think they just kind of like to prolong this reality they've created. Now, they're telling me, like, this is you. What you're experiencing as a target individual is us just mapping your brain the way you think when you were a child, about that age, actually even younger. But then they bring up, but what we're doing also is because what you did as a child in middle school, as a child in 14 years, just turning 14, about to start, just started 8th grade, right? I did some stupid things to myself when I was a kid. I did this stupid child impulsive moment thing, and it was embarrassing. It's embarrassing to think about it, but I did this thing that I actually truly forgot about it because it's such an impulsive moment of a child at that age. But these people want to try to make me think that age is not like an age of a child that can do something impulsive in that nature. Because listen, this man, when he was 14, he was already smoking crack. So that means that if at that age you can be smoking crack, you should be smart enough to not have done with the stupid thing you did. This is how they want you to think. Target individual. These people are delusional trash. If not even delusional, sorry. They are trying to gaslight you and having to make themselves damn near retarded to make you subscribe to these pedophilia things they do to you. Because what they want to do is like, no, you're going to pay for the things you did as a kid. That's like, a kid in 8th grade. Have you talked to a actual child? Don't fucking go into it. Sorry. They are trying to make you think that, no, kid, listen to this story. He was already smoking crack. He was doing cocaine at 14. So that means at that age, it's like, what? And by the way, I'm talking to people torturing babies. The program they're in, they are literally doing sexual torture on children. They are hurting kids in ways that you cannot even understand. They're utilizing this technology onto children to block this reality. You know what they do? To try to counter the reality of what they're part of. Oh, they're gonna poke your eyes out. It's like, okay, I already gave my eyes poked. Then having to make myself this level of retarded in a program that's literally torturing even children. Because you want me to think in this retarded way? I'd rather die slow. being poked and cut and scream, than having to live life. Can you imagine, as a grown man or woman or whatever they are, to try to counter this scream? So you're gonna scream because I don't want you to talk about how you are, how we, the program we're in, are torturing children. And I want you to stay in this level of this retardation. So I want you to think about how you're going to be screaming from the torture now, while you're talking about how we torture children. And we want you to think that an eighth grade child can do some impulsive, stupid thing like that, while and try to compare you and try to make you think that no, because a child that was 14 years old was doing crack. That means that when you're an eighth grade middle schooler, you have a brain of an adult, and you should be thinking more. These people are trash. And they tell me how they're going to frame me. It's like, dude, you're nasty. Listen to your life. You're going to die. Are you going to scream before you die? I don't care. I will not be the one, oh, you'll scream. I was like, no, live this long life doing these things. Maybe, hopefully, my scream's going to make your life better. But I doubt. It will do nothing to you. But you're trash. That's nice. I here try to counter the reality. And they have to make you think in these retarded ways. And try to compare. And men who... And he was saying it like, of course, he was not like, unlike other, when kids were being kids, he was being a crackhead. And he literally said, I didn't have a childhood because as a child, I was a crackhead. And they're like, you see, if you're old to be a crackhead, if you try to counter reality, if you're at that age and you're old enough to think to do crack, then you should be like, these people live off this life. And every time they try to talk about how I'm going to scream, it's like, I'll gladly scream. One thing I want to do before I scream, I just want to thank God that my life didn't consist of living that life. They work for entities filled with pedophiles. They have created and distorted reality. They are losers and trash who will die. Please believe they know their mortalities. If I was them, I would start. I don't know what I would do. I would start donating money, everything, because it's so disturbing. And on top of that, they actually work for entities filled with pedophiles. Man, how much warning in life do you need before you understand that you're gonna get yours on a level that you don't even understand? You're gonna think I'm a prophet. And on top of that, they're like, no, you know what we're gonna do? You people gonna frame you. Please do, trash. Please continue to embellish your honorable, your dignified life. You keep blessing yourself these ways. Trash, I will never be wishful to be you. And I'll be tortured, screaming, poked eyes. I'll never be like, I wish I was in apartment 13B doing what they do. And I'll be screaming. And I'll be starving. These people are the true definition of being human trash. Not because they are living in dirt and in mud, whatever. Because this is the life of a trashy life that I'm so thankful. For me, I say the things that they already know. I understand that they're already aware of them. Some of them I try to block it out. Obviously, some of them are children. Some of them are parents. But for me, I rather slowly keep like. And for me, I understand my psyop is just humiliated by reality. So what's going to happen is they're going to create a theatrical of torture. Can you imagine these people can't even speak about a pedophile that picked up kids that were as young as 14 years old? How much embarrassment. But they can tell me how they're going to be. I'm going to be castrating. My eyes are going, like, what? You can't even say the name of Roy Moore, and you're here trying to make this make sense. No. It's fair. Thank you, God, for giving me that moment, at least this moment where I can see myself. Sorry, Target, if they continuously call you a trash, a nothing, please understand it's a blessing coming from them. People like that calling you a nothing or trash, I'm telling you, you don't want to be a something to them. I rather, because it's a blessing to be a trash coming from when they call you a trash. Did you understand what the nastiness they do? It is so humiliating. They say things like you're a pedo. Even that is so humiliating. You know how humiliating when they're calling you you're their pedo, and you just read this article that is disturbing. See, the life they live is so humiliating. Target individual, you're gonna hear the torture of children, the pedophilia type of torture. Those agencies filled with pedophiles. You know they're running this program. You go understand that they the psyop of even some guys were thinking, oh, it's the next door 14-year-old person doing this thing to me. Man, it's like God is like giving me all the validation I need to know before I start screaming. It is so awkward when they say these things. It is so humiliating. And all they can say, no, you're gonna be screaming. It's like, oh my gosh. And you still can't even say Roy Moore. And it's super fair to me because I'm like, oh my, thank you. All of this does to me is validates me even more. And they come up with these stories and try to make me think, no, but you see, as a kid like that, you shouldn't, like a child can do it. And the thing is, what I did as a child, a year after this picture was taken, is something that happened. One time it was impulsive and boom, never to the point where I never even thought about that moment ever again. Now looking back as an adult, I'm like, oh. But they're like, no, today, because today what's happening, I'm looking, even before I made this video, they would start stimulating me. I was like, okay, well, they played with the sexual arousals and make you feel weird sexual stimulations. But now I'm scared of them because what they do when they stimulate me is then they aim those stimulation and aim those toward children. And they like to say, no, you're a pedo. That's proof, you see. And you're going to hear their pedos. You're going to hear right after this, you're going to hear their pedos. Right after I'm done talking, you're going to hear who's their pedos. But they are also, you're going to hear right after that what they do. How they make people react in this nasty stimulation toward children. And by the way, to interrupt me, to distort reality, to disorient me, they tell me how I'm going to be framed. And I'm going to be raped. Because I'm going to be framed. And let me tell you how they're going to frame me, right? They're going to say, they're creating things. I've been making, now every time I make a video, I talk about it. They say how they're going to make it sound or make it seem like I've been talking to some kids here. And we had conversations and I did something to this kid or some whatever. Typical. And that adds to the validation. Look at your pedophilia life. Even the way you frame, like everything is just disturbing. And that's how they're going to frame me. I was like, trash, please bless yourself more. Bless your life like this. Yes, I guarantee you that this is not free. But they're the nobodies too. I understand. I know that they're involved. They participating. They're going to be doing the frame. But of course, they're not going to be the frame because they just like, they want to protect it. No. It's because governmental entities have given them incentives for them to do what they need to do. And they're going to try to make it seem like it's, try to normalize these things. Which I'm like, please do. The blessing in life will be going to be plentiful. As I'm screaming and tortured and whatever, you're going to be blessed in ways that you don't even understand. For me, I expect nothing but torment and torture as I've been humiliated these people and I haven't done actually anything to them. But I will say the same thing that I've been saying. Listen, throughout my targeting, one thing is for sure. Everything I've been saying, somehow, some ways have come to be real. And I haven't been saying something magical. I've not saying anything prophet-like. It's just like the obvious. And the reason why they like to use this challenge, and some of them are just goofiness of dongorons that you like, oh my gosh. They are here making themselves laugh. Sometimes they make themselves laugh because, like when somebody laughs and wants to cry at the same time. They have that like weird target individuals. Stay strong. Listen to these losers and bottom feeders. Listen, I know my life for sure is going to be rough. Just like many others. But for me, there's going to be a theatrical aspect of things. Hoping to counter what you're going to listen.
sexual contact with a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old, he was simply fired. One employee purchased sexually explicit videos of young girls filmed by their mothers. He resigned. One employee estimated that he had viewed up to 1,400 sexually abusive images of children while on agency assignments. Not sure what actions, if any, were taken by him. One contractor arranged for sex with an undercover FBI agent. I think that you mentioned that. Posing as a child, he had his contract revoked. One CIA staffer was charged with child sexual crimes, and the employee was also under investigation for mishandling classified material. The CIA did not answer detailed questions, saying only that the agency takes all allegations of possible criminal misconduct. Says BuzzFeed, including the viewing of images of abuse, have been uncovered at other agencies that handle sensitive information. In a November 2009 report, the Department of Defense acknowledged that dozens of Pentagon staff members or contractors had such images. In 2014, the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community found that 2 officials from the National Reconnaissance Office, which oversees America's spy satellites, acknowledged viewing images of child sexual abuse during polygraph examinations. This is so disturbing. At a symposium in 2016, Daniel Payne, a top Pentagon security official, said that when workers' computers were examined, the amount of child porn I see is just unbelievable. Is for whatever reason with more frequency in our intelligence agencies, or is this something that is more pervasive in the general population than I originally realized? I mean, what's going on here? This is so bizarre and so evil.
Allie, we're told, and when I was put through recruitment into the intel community, you're put through polygraphs, you're put through a rigorous selection process. Why aren't these people weeded out? Why are so many pedophiles allowed to be given top-level security clearance? Remember, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, hey, can I get hired? Can I get a job? You're put through an extremely rigorous background check screening process. It's called an SSBI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, they interview your family, they interview your contacts, they go through your online footprint, they go through everything. So why is it that when they're going through these footprints, they're not checking, these digital footprints, they're not checking for so many pedophiles getting through their ranks? If it were up to me, you need to go into Congress, and Congress needs to launch a brand new church committee, number one, to talk about domestic surveillance operations, but number two, to ask the question, why are there so many pedophiles sitting behind
information couriers, people that will carry the V2K? So they'll say, we're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's, satanic ritual abuse. And I've heard all the stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis that people will believe something other than a massive government could do this. And so anyway, my interview with Len, he very well described a typical breakdown script that's used on almost all the TI victims. TI stands for targeted individuals. Some of them are pretty crazy. They have names like Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz, and those are the confusion tactics. And when they're breaking down the ego of the human through all the pains and tortures and the verbal breakdown, these are typical CIA torture scripts. I mean, Kubark manual. And they do good cop, bad cop interrogation called Jeff and Mutt, and they go right through the list, right? Just textbook. So whoever the handlers are on the other side of this synthetic telepathy, they're following the handbook perfectly.
Tactic of belief systems into human will, style and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds.
Dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophiles. Like this disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it. I don't care. I don't know if it's through weapons. I don't know.
Experience what is referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture and just rocking my pelvic area back and forth, repeated rubbing sensations, the sensation of something going up my crotch and in and out, etc. They also often force vaginal discharges and zap my genitals at the same time. These sexual assaults are present throughout the day, every day, and anytime I am awakened at night, every night. They range from mild to extreme, but usually involve daily and nightly continuous assaults for the past 3 years now. When severe, the zaps to the genitals feel as though someone is electrocuting my genitals repeatedly. I also often see highly disturbing pornographic images and videos, including highly disturbing pedophilia type of images and I also often see highly disturbing pornographic images and videos, including highly disturbing pedophilia type of images and videos when I close my eyes. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as just psychologists working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic. And they used her to threaten the most torture in me, as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions, despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions and had been making incredible progress on all of her therapy goals. This was used to threaten extreme torture on me, making me scream and cry, etc. They would make the kids act out the kinds of torture that would later be done on me. For example, they would also sometimes make her bite her hand, threatening to make me bite my hands, as they often do. One day, she had a large, severe bite mark on her arm. She has also grabbed her crotch, saying, "Ow," and this was used to threaten me with severe sexual torture. One day, I also observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day.
Our 5 children. Nicole is 15, Patricia 14, Christopher 13, Dylan 9, and Avery 16 months old. Not only have I been going through this, but my entire family has suffered right by my side.
Injustice.
You mean as far as the Justice Department feeling me?
Well, in terms of your being a victim.
You mean what I'm feeling?
Yeah, explain a little bit to me how you perceive yourself as being.
I have actual photographs of burns on my body. When I went to my doctor, the response was, "How do I know you didn't do that to yourself? How do you even address that?" I've passed 2 psychological evaluations, not 1 but 2. The one physician said, "You're mentally sound as a bell." He said, "I don't have any idea what's going on with you." When I go to sleep, when I go to try to sleep, I feel like I'm being lit up like a Christmas tree. I feel every cell in my body just bouncing out of my body. I can't even describe it. I get electric shock up my rectum. I get electric shock up my nose. I've woken up with, I've had burns on the palms of both of my hands. I vibrate. I can barely hold a piece of paper without quivering.
Does that answer your past it? It might give other communities the courage to do the same thing and show our Defense Department we are not the enemy. We are not to be attacked. We are not terrorists. Most of us are defenseless women.
Miss Catherine Nestor.
My name is Catherine Nestor, and I'm from Pennsylvania. This commission has spoken of a long history of abuse of the human research subject. Although no one mentioned MKUltra today, President Clinton recently apologized for this. My young child and I have been used as non-consensual test subjects. We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking, remote neural monitoring, and electromagnetic torture, resulting in psychological and physical damage. And I won't go into the details of that because I have 4 pages written in here that is very similar to Connie's testimony. Please do not wait 70 years to investigate this. I ask Dr. Amy Gutman to begin today. There is new work for the Commission for Human Subject Protection on our shores. And please give us a dramatic response, Susan. And please give us a congressional hearing. Thank you.
To be shot in the face. And it was an older guy. He was like really, really disgruntled and pissed off. Yeah, she's gonna get shot in the face. Sound like an angry ass old person. Then a couple of days later, a female said the same thing. Gonna get shot in the face. Stupid shit like that. But what I really noticed is with the voices go, it's a bunch of females. And I'm like, bro, really? You're not a woman. What real woman would stalk another female or sit back and allow that to go on? You really think they think it's nothing wrong with them, basically. They call me retarded bitch and all of that.
Information on the brain of a person, presumably by some kind of waves, which in the mind take the form of voices, thoughts and images and imagination. In addition to this kind of implanting information that they need, they manipulate the psyche so that the information is written into your memory. Then by stimulating the certain regions in the brain, they can retrieve this information and present it as your own memory. This is the conclusion that can be made judging by the influence they have been making on me with their psychotronic weapons, for example, artificial thoughts, imagination, and mental torture. Right, that I thought how that could happen, but then I told them that they would never take my will, and since we all know how the psychopaths groups work with what the TI says or does, then they started during the nights to run some kind of beam where suddenly I've been wakened up at 3 o'clock in the mornings and some kind of voice comes and say phrases, sound incomprehensible, and some other times can actually catch what is saying, ITS not my voice, a different voice, and I realize that they are trying to program for me to take it in a way that I won't notice a change in my behavior. Of course this is not new, because one main thing this program is out there is called behavior modification for the undesirable, and that's one of the excuses this groups give for the neighbor TO join, deception. I learned to talk back, in my mind, during the process when I was awakened, and I would say demeaning things, that I cannot repeat it in this blog, you know what I mean. Since they had violated me for so long, I decided to aggravate them with words, in my mind, I can hear my own voice. I told them I'm going to make you pay for all of the years of torture that I've taken, and all you are going to hear is aggravation. For every single second of my privacy that you have taken away. From me and my family. Then said this, the slaves began a program of perversion. First was with my dog. I am very playful with my pet, and suddenly one day that I was petting him I felt strange, in the sense of the word. I thought, this is strange, and then afterwards that strange sensation continued. Then in that moment I realized that was impost, so I thought, look at this losers, don't know how to put me down, and they are doing this. So I told them that I know what you are trying to do, and I started laughing, and then I said again out loud, you'll never take my will, ASS, so just to show them that I meant what I said, I kept playing with my dog, and even though that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Today they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use of people, better said young people, also children and homosexuals. When I aggravated them I usually called demeaning names, and one of them is referring to homosexuals. For me all of the slaves are misfits, society haters, scumbags, etc. No, I don't have anything personal against them, homosexuals, but as my way to aggravate the slaves, and since they love to use children for the torture and stalking, street theater etc.,
especially teenagers, for the stalking at close range with an attitude. They are using them during my sleep in the perversion program, and so you can imagine what the slaves of torture are pretending to do to me. In the last days, as today September 9th, 07, anything I do, either watching TV or reading of whatever I'm doing, they brush me, sort of say, I feel like I'm aroused all day and I feel the palpitations in my genitals for what I'm thinking, and since the attack comes so quickly, I realized my programming has been set on auto. In their central computers, no handlers could do something like this that quick. What make me realized, the slaves are desperate to get me. Unfortunately for them, they are facing a strong wall where no matter how much their computers EAP me, I know I'm not changing. As I said, I feel like they've been set up a beam where I feel constantly stimulated. I'm talking sexually, like a heat in my genitalia.
This technology can be used to sexually manipulate the target. It can make the target feel sexual arousal.
For his inappropriate behavior of soliciting sex from young girls. And don't forget, he did that while he was assistant DA. The assistant DAA.